So we've gotten a little thing that says Myles Turner could be moved. NBA executives think that will eventually happen. Sabonis has been really good this season, and the Indiana has held up defensively with Sabonis. So if that's going to happen, then I mean, that does kind of push Turner on the way out. And, we can argue about if Myles Turner has reached his potential. I mean, last season he was an all-defense guy who didn't get it just because of the technicality of the all-defense teams, because only 2 centers can make it. But his rim protection is legit. His pick-and-roll defense is there. His post defense might still need some work, and okay, whatever. His shooting has never really been what we want it to be. His post scoring hasn't gotten to that next level. But the potential is still very much there on offense. Dude's 23. And you think different team and all that stuff could really go nuts. He is shooting 4 threes a game this season, so he's taken a few more. Anyway, teams that could take on Myles. First thing to point out, sometimes it's tough with centers. Because of Myles' potential and the fact that he's just making $18 million a year for the next few seasons, I think that definitely helps. This is not a guy who you're like, oh, we got to pay him $29 million 2 years from now. Do we feel good about that? I mean, no, he's never touching 20, so that it's a good contract, no doubt. The first team I want to talk about is the Celtics, because it's an interesting conversation. It would probably be Marcus Smart and stuff, basically, whether it's Celtics' own picks or whatever else, because I don't really think they would trade Gordon Hayward, and they're definitely not trading Jalen or Tatum. So the idea is their perimeter defense would still be fine without Marcus Smart, and their rim protection would go up significantly with Myles Turner, right? And in a way, their defense still gets better. And they could mold Turner into being basically the next Al Horford, a center who can stretch the floor, be an awesome defensive player. I don't know, though. I think, for me, it comes back to the idea of I just think you can get by with solid centers, especially if your perimeter talent is good enough, and the Celtics have quite a few good perimeter players. So it's a hang-up for me. My gut is that the Celtics don't do it, but it would be intriguing if they did, no doubt. And also, there's no telling that they even want to do that move or even thinking about doing that move, so we can move on now. I've seen it suggested for Miami, with the idea is it's Myles Turner and Bam as your front court. I would think that would mean Bam is defending 4s because he can do it, and Myles Turner is protecting the rim, but I don't know, man. I think that slows them down a lot, so I don't think I would do that if I was them. I think there's a world in which Toronto could use him, but I don't know if the Raptors would be sending anything back that Indiana would really want. I mean, if I was the Pacers in this scenario, I think I would want a guy who can help me out right now. I'm not really looking for young players and draft picks for Myles Turner. I'm looking for more of a positional swap, basically a wing player, perimeter player, that type of thing. I'm sure the Hornets would want him, but I don't know if there's really a move there. Pistons, Bulls, no. The Wizards, are they content with Thomas Bryant? I feel like they could be, but even then, is there a perimeter player going back to the Pacers? Probably not. Should Atlanta want him? Potentially. You got a John Collins, Myles Turner. There's your front court for the next however long. That would certainly help you out defensively because that team needs it. As far as what would be going back to the Pacers, I don't really know. I mean, unless it's, besides the expirings with Crabbe or whoever, of course. I don't know. Maybe you're giving up Herter if you feel good enough about that. Maybe you're giving up Jabari, even though he's probably going to decline his player option. Maybe Indiana would be like, hey, we'll take on Jabari Parker. He's been kind of good this season. I've seen the Clippers thrown around a little bit. It would be something like Harkless, Zubac, Magruder, Jerome Robinson. Take your pick for the Pacers, probably. It's an interesting idea, the Clippers upgrading at the center position. I mean, obviously, at their best, it's Montrez, but between the fact that Montrez might be gone after this season because the dude's going to get a lot of money in free agency, and because Zubac does play however many minutes he plays, well, he plays 16 minutes. We're going to trade for Myles Turner and play him 16 minutes a game. That sounds a little weird. But it would definitely be a future option for the Clippers, no doubt. The Mavericks are interesting. I get the idea. You play him next to Porzingis and everything, but, between Dwight Powell, Maxi Kleba, these guys are not putting up big numbers or anything, but they're just kind of good. And I don't know. I don't know if the Mavericks really need Myles Turner. I mean, they're 15th in defense right now. Is that because they're bad? Is that because they're getting better defensively? I mean, they've only had like one loss this whole season that was kind of a blowout. So I don't know. Maybe I'm missing something, and Myles Turner would be amazing for them, but I think their big man rotation is already kind of pretty good. I guess OKC is interesting. Gallo for Myles Turner, basically. Thunder get their long-term center option because Steven Adams is getting older. And the Pacers just get themselves another good perimeter / sometimes inside scorer that they could use. And it would space out the floor for Sabonis a lot more. I'm sure the Spurs would love to have him. I don't know if a move is really there, though. Grizzlies, no. Pelicans, well, I did mention in the Drew Holiday video the idea of Drew for Myles Turner. You know, I think it's kind of interesting. It's basically the Pelicans get their center, and the Pacers get Drew Holiday. And then you have 3 Holidays just going nuts in Indiana. As for the Warriors, that one's kind of interesting too. I mean, that would be D'Lo on the move, and maybe they would just view that as their center. Because, you know, they like to do that whole, you know, Looney, Damian Jones, he's gone now, but they like to do that whole thing at center, and maybe they would just get a guy who they can feel a little bit more comfortable with, just planting him at that 5 spot long term. So there's some interesting teams, interesting names, no doubt. And this trade season is potentially getting a little more exciting. So that's fun.